Boom. I knew, see, and now everybody has the wrong link, and I feel bad because I pre-posted the link. But you know what? It's gonna be okay.
They'll be able to.
I'm the queen of pivoting.
Yeah.
So yes, you check in to make sure that I'm in frame or something.
You in
Yes,
there?
I'm in there. I
Hey,
just-
notes. I'll text you.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah, your phone. Let me see.
Listen, shout out to y'all for being here for the first one. I'm very grateful that y'all are here and that we are doing this thing. This is great. This is great. Everything is fine too. That's what I like to say. Is that everything is fine. Here we go. Share. Wonderful. I'm just updating the link just in case everybody. There were people who were here. I mean, who are not here. Who are not in town. Who wanted to
Listening.
listen in, and I now have to update the link because, boom, there we go. All right. The link has been updated, and people can come on in the room. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm stalling for just like 10 more seconds so that I can finish sharing it so that people
Okay,
who should not make it.
While she's stalling, y'all, I want people's definition of what they think the love-ish means. I would just love to hear everybody's definition of love-ish. You still working over there?
Okay.
Yep. We good? We live?
We live.
Love-ish.
Yeah.
What does love-ish mean?
Love is-
Anybody want to be bold? The bold first one?
Maybe like kinda in love, kinda not.
Oh,
Halfway in, halfway.
halfway in, halfway out. Kind of in love, kind of not.
I agree with that. That's what people say when they're trying to figure out what love is and how to love themselves.
Trying to figure out what love is and how to love themselves. I love it. What you got back there in the purple? The one in the back. No, the one. There you go.
Not you looking around.
What's love-ish?
From a 60-year-old phrase,
Mm-hmm.
it's happy, I agree, it's happy and half out.
Half in, half out.
Interesting. I was not expecting that to be the perception of the
Love-ish.
title. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Anybody else? Love-ish. Same.
I've never heard of it.
Love-ish.
It came from his friend.
Mm. I think, when I think of love-ish, I think situationship. I think convenient, but not like you can't rely on the relationship, you can't rely on the person, but they show up when it's convenient-ish, whatever y'all terms of agreement are.
Interesting.
What you think? Love-ish.
Well, before I say what I think, my name is Crystal. Hi. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was all discombobulated. If you're just joining in on the live, welcome. This is not a typical live. This is a very special live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here with my brother Michael and these wonderful people at Beyond the Book Bookstore in Homewood. Make sure you come and check it out because it's amazing in here.
It is.
So yes, my name is Crystal Lester. I'm an actress, influencer, speaker, writer, all the things, an advocate for wellness, and I am passionate about healthy relationships.
Mhm.
So how me and Mike got connected through content, I've shared a little bit about my divorce story. I put out a series called 9 Things I Wish I Would Have Known as a Christian Bride a couple years ago, and was really shocked by the outpouring of love and the responses that I got, not only from women, but from men who were just like, man, I'm going through this. And I'm like, what? Y'all be going through stuff too? That's crazy. And so since then, I've been in search of spaces, community for people who are either contemplating divorce, navigating divorce, or recovering from divorce. And I feel like it's a huge underserved community. And so as I started dating again after getting divorced, of course, I came across your content, we connected, and, you know, a lot of interesting conversations and perspectives from both male and female who have been through it. So when I think about love-ish, I definitely see what y'all saying about situationships. Lord knows I've had my handful of those, and can't stand them. Would rather walk barefoot on glass. But when I thought of love-ish, I thought about, you know, it's the nuance, the concept of love and how it's very malleable and it changes. Like it shifts and shape shifts in various forms throughout the longevity of love. So like I can remember being married, and when you first get married, you're in that like marital bliss and everything is all love, love, love. And then, you know, it ebbs and it flows, even in a healthy relationship, in a healthy marriage. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just the best thing since sliced bread. I just love you so much. And the other days I'm just like, the thought of your face just makes me want to smack you.
Right.
Like I feel like that's love, not so much a lack of
Gentlemen, you can sit in front.
Yes, you won the prize of right in front. Hey, bud. Yes.
When my guys are late, I gotta call them out. We just getting into it.
Yeah.
Talking about what love-ish means to people.
Yes.
Go ahead, Chris.
But I think that it has a lot more to do with not so much like the situationship. There's a lack of commitment with situationships, but I perceive it as being the ins and outs of the intensity of love.
So you're putting it in the intensity bucket. So on one hand, you're saying we're in the beginning we're high intensity and boom, 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 but then life starts happening, and then we're love-ish. Like the intensity goes down. Is that what you're?
Yeah, like okay, I'm really good with analogies. It's one thing that my ex-husband hated about me, but analogies go a long way. So you know, like when you first get your spandex, your Spanx, you snatch. Everything is great. After a while, that elasticity starts to wane a little bit, and you're not as snatched as you used to be when you first put it on that first day and couldn't breathe. You know what I'm saying? And then after a while, you're like, oh, I done lost weight. No, it just lost its elasticity, and it doesn't hold as much as it used to. But then maybe you wash it and dry it, and it snaps back a little bit. You know, or like a ponytail holder. The more you stretch it, the less it holds. But if you boil it, turn up the heat, that elasticity comes and snaps back. So I think that it can, you know, it ebbs and it flows. Like it's, I don't know, it's that ish. Like,
It's the ish.
yeah.
Gentlemen, what do you think when you hear the word love-ish?
I'm gonna let my twin take that one. Ish.
Love-ish. I said,
In terms of like what?
yeah, just the word in terms of a definition. I said, I felt like it was
Not
like
that-
a situationship.
Yeah, kind of, you know, all the way there.
Yeah, one foot in, one foot out. Somebody said that earlier.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's
Like I'm in love-ish. Interesting. Any other thoughts on love-ish? Now, here's another thought. Almost kind of what you were talking about, Chris, how I think different people have different definitions of love. So you can have one person who thinks love is just showing up, doing the bare minimum, right? And then you can have another person who has higher expectations, and what they're doing, they don't perceive that as love. They perceive that as just normalcy. So then you can have a mismatch of expectations, and that's where frustration can come in. If you don't have good communication skills, you know, now you're misfiring. So I don't think enough couples have conversations on like, yo, what is love to you? Yep, and that.
So do you think that in a relationship, when people grow, they grow at different times? And so that love sometimes goes through the ish, but bounces back in the elastic
Yeah.
side that you described. So do you think that those are also dynamics that you use?
So-
In the growth phase?
Yeah, so I understand the question just for the recording. You're saying when people grow and people grow at different paces, do you think that's where love, for lack of better words, may fluctuate the ish part? What do you think?
I think that love is a dance that is between more than just two people, right? So when you think about a dance, a choreographed dance, you have the two partners, but you also have the music. The tempo is kind of the keeper of the dance. You have the right shoes, you have the right outfit. You can't do a waltz in a mermaid dress because you need to be able to be flexible. And so I think that a lot of times people underestimate the necessity of navigating and pivoting with like circumstances.
Mhm.
Things outside circumstances versus inside circumstances. So like, for example, when I first got married, I was 6 months into a grief journey of losing my sister.
Mhm.
So there was, and 5 other relatives within that 6 months. And so there was a lot of trauma bonding kind of in the beginning.
Yeah.
And how it affected me, grieving definitely took its toll on my marriage because I never really recovered within that because she was my safe space. And now I'm married to this man who doesn't know how to create safety for me and create even more voyage. Or sometimes work can be, a circumstance that causes that imbalance. If somebody is physically out of the home all the time, or, if someone, hi, how are you? If someone is physically out of the home all the time, or, if someone grew up a certain kind of way,
Right.
and they are dealing with that, or even having children, women go through postpartum, so if it's particularly for that, they don't have any real control over that. And then adding kids to the mix, that takes away attention from the actual relationship. So there's so many circumstances, some of them you can control, some of them you can't. And people will go through them at different times, but it's again going into the love issue of things, allowing it to be flexible, to swell and to contract when necessary.
I like that. We're talking, for those who just came in, we're talking about just the definition of love-ish, what that word term means to you. But I like what you said around elasticity and expectations. I'm always watching when, people come to me about the relationships and they share what's working, what's not working. And then one thing I think about is how much room are people leaving for the ish in their relationship. They got the love down. They know how they want to be loved, what type of love, what type of communication, but it's almost like we don't put like 20% for the ish. We only expect love, 100%. And then it's like, okay, their humanity shows up, and it's like, oh, you got attitude certain days of the month? What the heck is this? Send them back to Timu. But that's part of the ish, right?
Yeah.
That's part of the ish. Now, I was gonna throw this out there. What are y'all definitions of love? Just throw it out there. Just, how would you define love?
It's like that intro to that Lauryn Hill song.
Oh, right, yeah. Loaded question, okay. Jesus Christ, okay.
Yes, Jesus.
Okay, Jesus is love, okay. Any other love?
Music Soul Child.
Music Soul Child, okay.
Love.
Billy, yeah.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Don't need to sing.
Please no.
Okay. I think love, to me, when I think love, I think about, whether this is right or wrong, but I think about what I didn't get as a kid. So some of the things I think about is emotional availability, right? I think about, I didn't grow up in a family that said, I love you, hugs and kisses. To the point where I actually remember, what grade? I probably was either in 7th or 8th grade, and my sister was walking up to me, she's probably where you are, and she was walking up to me to give me a hug. And I remember the yuck feeling at the thought of hugging her. That just showed you how disconnected and how far we were from physical healthy touch. We didn't do that. And then I had to learn over the years that, okay, this is actually healthy. And so for me, when I think about love, I think about people being there, emotionally, mentally, making space for me. What's big for me too, well, what used to be big for me is gifts, because I didn't get a lot of gifts growing up. I remember birthdays where I bought my first pair of Jordans as an adult, right? So I wonder if people define love also by maybe what they didn't get. What you think?
That's super interesting, because what if,
So love is super interesting, only because, just like you just exposed, right? Love, as far as what if an individual didn't get that type of like capacity as far as them growing up in an environment where love means something different, right? Because you got tough love, where fathers come in and they believe that they showing love to their kids, but it's in a different sense of tough love, right? And that could be any way, shape, or form how they giving it, right? Whether it's they fall and saying, "Hey, get up, you gonna figure this out yourself."
Right.
And then you got another individual where they're gonna help that individual, their kid, pick them up and say, "Hey, lead them to this way." So that's what I mean. Love can be in different forms. That's why I say it's a loaded question, only because for the simple fact that, to me, sometimes it's the way you shaped, the way you grew up, your environment, how you was taught love is, and sometimes that's the only way you know love, right? So in order for you to grow, sometimes you gotta get exposed to like different form of what love is. So if you was only shaped this way, that's all you know. You get what I'm saying? That's all you know. So I think love, that's why I say it's a super loaded question. Because it can be super, I won't say sensitive is not the way, but I would just say that love is something that, to me, it's all about growth. When I think of love, like, love is all about growth and how you experience the way you grew up, your environment.
So
It's super complicated to me. Like,
right.
there's no like definition to me of love because everybody got different. I'm sure in this room, everybody got different experience. Everybody grew up different environment. So how you define that? That's my question back to you. So many things, right?
Yep. No, that was the point of the exercise. It's like, to your point, if you think love looks red, and I think love looks green, we're not even we're not seeing the same thing. Now, one experience, we see it two different ways. And I think sometimes with couples, we don't even know to have these conversations, right? We don't even know to say, hey, well, the whole Love Languages book, I think, has definitely helped start more conversations on how do you like to be loved, right? I think it helps, but I still think it's a lot of work to do.
Whenever I think about love, I think if I boil it down to one thing, it's always sacrifice to me. Not to make it churchy, but like I think about, my faith in Jesus and like that was the ultimate sign of love, was sacrificing. And when I think about how I relate to other people, there's always sacrifice involved. I don't think that you could truly love someone without sacrificing something, whether it's time, energy, money, maybe your pride, maybe, whatever it is, you give something of yourself. When I think about, someone recently asked me, do I believe in soulmates? And for a long time I did, growing up in the 90s, I grew up on all the rom-coms. I'm thinking like, I'm gonna have a cute little meet cute, I'm gonna bump into somebody and I'm gonna be mad, like, why you bump into me? And then we gonna catch eyes and fall in love and like fly on some errands or something. Like, I just was thinking that. It was, because that's what I saw growing up. And I was like, oh, and I sit in the back of the cab and be like, home, I'm going home. But then I remembered I'm not right. So I was like, that's not actually for me. But as I got older, especially when my sister passed away, and it was such an interesting dynamic to like be engaged and to be grieving, and then to get married and to still be grieving and experience what I experienced in my marriage. What I realized was that for me, love is safety, and that safety came by way of sacrifice. She sacrificed her walls and allowed me to be vulnerable with her, and she was vulnerable with me. And there was an 18-year gap between us. And so I think the currency of love is vulnerability and trust. But again, that's still a sacrifice, to show someone all of who you are and to allow yourself to be seen when it's ugly, when it's cute, you know, when it's ish, all of those things. For me, that just makes me love someone all the more because you're trusting me with something so precious. And so I feel like sacrifice is just always at the top of my mind because you can tell somebody like, oh, I love you, and I never hear from you. If I am in need, and I'm one of those people that I don't need much. I'm like one of those what's those little plants? Huh?
I would say minimalist.
No, I'm definitely not a minimalist. But one of those little plants that just, they don't need a whole lot, a couple drops of water every few, a succulent or something, you know? That's kind of how I am. Oh, look at that, it's 4 people. People that probably did not RSVP, but you love them. You love them, you know? Hello, people. Hi. Hi, people. I see familiar faces, that makes me happy.
Brother in the back had something to say?
I don't know if it's really something to say, it's just,
Well, then give me the mic. No, that's my guy. That's my guy.
everything to me is, I guess from a humanistic point of view, is subjective. This is what I try to do, I try to love you. And your mate may be trying to love you from her perspective. And you don't realize that, but you can't discount her effort as being loved.
Right.
So, I don't know if you could put a definition of love in a box, but I do think it helps to try to weigh someone's actions to see if it's coming from a good place. If they intentionally trying to do something that's better for you.
I like that. Yeah.
Because even for my child, I was having a conversation with him last night. I really was upset. I thought I was going to jail for killing him, but I said something, and after I thought about it, it meant a lot. I was like, you know what? You're not grateful. You upset because of what I do based off of what your friends' parents do, and you're not thankful for all the good stuff you have. And that's clouding your judgment. So, for whatever it's worth, I just say, just try to take inventory of what you're dealing with, and try to step outside of yourself and see where the other person coming from.
I want to ask a question as we're moving the conversation along. You know, I had the question, and then the question was like, phew. I'm gonna just grab it real quick. What was my question?
Think of your question, I'm gonna let her say something real quick.
As I'm listening, I think love is the essence of expression. So like I'm thinking about this in the sense that the way that you are able to express yourself is what people receive from you in the name of love.
Say that again.
I don't know if I can.
The way
It's coming out of me. So basically the way that you express yourself is what people receive from you, and they are calling love or not calling love.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're not loving or that you're not showing love. It means maybe your ability, it's kind of something along the lines of what you were saying, maybe your ability to show it is not as profound as someone else's ability to show it, but that doesn't mean it's not love.
Right.
And so people have to meet in maybe their profundity. You know, like the people that are loving on the same level. You know, like some people are huge lovers and other people are kind of in the cut with it. And the people that are in the cut are not unloving. They just are not as robust in their expression, maybe to the expectation of what someone was looking for. So it's just kind of like a multi-point thing. It's like an essence, right? Because I can not feel that with one person, and then another person, I can completely feel it.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to do more because there's a connection that's happening and it's beautiful. But then there are other people that I might encounter what they call love and it shuts me down because I'm like, nah, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Right.
I want to ask, how many people in the room are in relationships? Okay. About half the room, okay. And then the people that are not in relationships, are we dating? Are we just kind of out here in single streets? Yeah.
I just kind of out here.
Listen, I can speak for myself. I'm just kind of out here. All right, it's hard out here for a single person. I asked that question because I'm curious. People who are in relationships, If you could give it like one word, what's one thing that your partner does that makes you feel loved? You just shout out a word. Or other things.
Respect.
Respect. I hear that a lot from men.
Loyal.
Loyalty.
Honor.
Honor. Okay.
Communication.
Communication.
Giving.
Giving.
Yes.
Okay.
Patient.
Patience. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Patience is it's required.
Alcohol.
That's why we don't know.
Patience.
Wide
Well, I mean,
open.
the good book does say love is patient. That's the first word that comes out. Patience is definitely required to love. So, okay, we have communication, respect, patience, giving, what did I miss? Did I miss loyalty, honor? These are all really valiant concepts and what's the other word that I'm trying to say? Help me. Qualities.
Qualities.
Qualities. These are all wonderful qualities that you have, and I think it's interesting. I've been having a lot of conversations in preparation for this conversation, as well as the community that I'm about to start, called the Love Well Society, because I'm fascinated by how people feel loved. I think one thing that divorce taught me was how to kind of break apart and really get down to the basics of what makes two people want to be together and what drives two people apart. And I think most relationships kind of fail, whether it's romantic or not, because people don't feel loved or they are having a hard time receiving the love that's given.
Right.
And so I think that is interesting. We have a decent amount. Shout out to the guys who came in the room, because usually whenever there's a lot of talking, guys just be somewhere else, and the women we like to yap. So shout out to the guys. Yeah, we appreciate that.
I want to piggyback off of what you just said,
Go ahead.
if I could. The question I would ask the room too is, when you think about who loved you the best your entire life, what type of qualities did they have? And the person that immediately pops up is my grandmother, Nana. And it was a warmth, it was a energy, it was a we gonna be all right, it was a I'm gonna cook you some food if you need some food, it was a safety, action. So what are some of the adjectives that you could say the person who loved you the most had? Responsiveness, ooh, that's good.
I got deep.
What else?
Top that.
Intensity, intention,
Safety.
safety,
Gentle.
gentle, that's good. Grace. I wish we had more conversations like couples and say, in the inception of our relationship, tell me who loved you the best and what did they do? So now I know what you consider love. Maybe I'm working all hard making 10 donuts and 20 pineapple upside down cakes when all you need is 2 hugs. Because your grandmama hugged you and that made your whole world feel safe and regulated your emotions. But I'm thinking, I gotta buy you this and buy you that. And you just might wanna sit on the couch and put your head on my leg, right? So I think sometimes we're guessing, we're throwing darts at, they'll really love this. Assuming. Sometimes we don't have the language to say, no. Or where do we learn this stuff? Can we cuss in here? We got no kids. Where do we learn this shit? Like, what class teaches you how to inquire about your partner's love language?
I think that's the more intentional part though now. I think like the older we get now, I think that's where intention comes in that. Because you remember we used to date just to date. Like, you know, it wasn't really
I never did that. He said he.
I mean,
No, I'm not.
in your 20s, you just
Right,
one
right.
out this girl. And
I've heard people do stuff.
I heard, I never did it.
Well, from my experiences, I'll speak for them.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I think now, even my time and the attention I do give is more intentional, and I am asking those kind of questions, or I am more intentional about like trying to figure out what this girl has been through. You know, what
Many times she been locked up.
yeah, you know, you kind of get right to it nowadays versus just winging it. You know, you kind of really being intentional about asking those questions. You know, what's your love language and just all those type of things that so you can kind of cut the corner on. Like, let me not make all these business. She's just like this. You know, let me not. I ain't got to buy no bag for her. She just want to spend some time. You know, so it's kind of like. Cause before that, you could have dealt with someone else who liked the bags.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then this girl ain't got a designer bag in the closet. You know, so it's not they don't operate the same way. You know, so it's just about being intentional for me. So for me, love is intentional, in a sense. You know.
It's funny you say that real quick. I remember way back. I was in this relationship and I got this girl a bag, right? And in my head, it was just a bag, but in her world, she ain't never had no bag. You would have thought she hit the $1 billion. I'm just thinking, this Telfair bag that I'm watching. But to your point, if you don't know what people have experienced, you're just shooting darts. Any thoughts over here on that?
I actually have a question. I have a statement and then I have a question. I think that the bag thing is really interesting. I remember one year when I was married, my ex-husband spent an egregious amount of money that we did not have on a designer bag. I'm not a designer bag girly. And it's not because I don't necessarily want to be, but it's just not my priority. I would rather, if you want to spend some money on me, buy me a new camera. Buy me a new guitar. Buy me something that's going to make me money. Buy me something that's going to help my creative career.
Right.
The bag is cool, but like it's expensive. I can't take it everywhere because somebody might take the bag. It's heavy. It don't go with everything because it's a different kind of color. I'm like a beige black girl that just everything goes with this bag. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of goes to what was said earlier about paying attention to who you're with, because we can't just love the way that we want to be loved or that we perceive or based on our own histories. It's like having that clean slate, it being intentional. And it brings me to the question that I want to ask. So to the flyer, you know, love-ish, a conversation about romance. I want to know, what does romance look like from a man's perspective? What you doing? I want to hear from you first. What does romance look like? Because if I can, I'm not going to speak for the ladies, but I know quite a few ladies have had my experience where sometimes romance just be out the window.
Right. When I think of what romance looks like, I immediately think of what does it look like for my partner. Because it can look like something for me. Romance can look like nachos with the football game on and her just sitting next to me. You know what I'm saying? But for her, it looks different. Netflix and fireplace and, you know. So I think the answer is always individually based, personally. Because what's romance for her might not be romance for her down the line. So for me, that's my safe answer. But I'm going to the back to the brothers who've been married 20 plus years.
I think my lens and my scope is a little bit different than most, just because we're married, we've been married for quite some time. But I think, piggybacking off of his point, it's intentional, right? It's intentional about having conversation to understand what it is you want, what it is you desire, what it is you like, what's good for you, what's not good for you. Having that open conversation and being, at least, you know, having her be vulnerable to share that with me, and me being confident enough and strong enough to try to give that to her, right? It doesn't have to be at the top of the end of the spectrum, but it's the effort, right? It's being intentional about putting forth the effort to make that romantic scenario fit whatever the scenario is that she desires, right? And so I think, again, it's that intention, right?
Y'all scared of the mic. We got a romance brother in the back.
I don't necessarily want to say romance, I would just give caution to saying, just identifying what love or what romance is. I'm complex, I don't know about anybody else. So my love language today may not be my love language tomorrow. So you need to
Oh, wait, say that again, say that again.
My love language today may not be my love language tomorrow. I'm like the weather, so you probably want to check in with me. And what I was doing at 21, I'm not doing at 50. So for somebody to just say, oh, this is what the hell love is, you need to be careful with that. Because that shit moves, it's fluid. So that's really, I think everybody's correct, except I would just be careful of making some kind of stagnant deal.
I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about how love and the issue of it all is malleable. When you have life circumstances, outward things that happen, inward things that are going on, and being able to feel loved throughout those changes, because circumstances will happen, life will happen, and how do you pivot with that?
Okay, I got a question too, since we just posed the questions. What is one lesson you learned the hard way about love? Don't date nobody with no job and don't want to work.
And she is correct.
It's hard, okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. That's-
She is correct. She is correct. Yes. I think that that's a really interesting thing. Sorry. I think that that's a really interesting thing from a woman's perspective. Particularly Black women are conditioned to foster potential a lot more than our non-Black counterparts. And it's a really frustrating thing because we get penalized for it. I was having this conversation on Threads. Anybody on Threads? I know you on Threads. I love Threads. I be having time on Threads, and we were having a conversation, and somebody's son tried to go back and forth with me about potential, and I'm just like, what I've learned that kind of coincides with what Melanie said is that alignment is so important, and love is not enough. Like as much as the conversation is love-ish, for a successful relationship, love is not enough, because unfortunately, love often gets boiled down to how we make somebody feel, but that's not enough. It's not about how you make someone feel. It's also about your positioning. If you are not in position to make a relationship work, it's not going to work. I don't care how much you love somebody. And if you really do love someone, then wouldn't you be prompted to put yourself in that position to make it work? But if you are just incapable, you think about people who are avoidant, it's not that they don't want to love, they just don't have the capacity to foster love. And so, I'm getting a minute to circle back. But yes, I agree that we cannot, fall in love with potential, because it will bite us.
We can't either.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Go ahead.
I would say that it's impossible to love someone who does not love themselves. That's the number one thing. We always try to love people and they're not healed and they have a lot of issues, and before we can even help them, they have to help themselves, and that's where we fall short at.
That's good. Yep. Anybody else?
I think a lesson that I learned the hard way was also, like, we're responsible for our own happiness. And so you can't look to another person to make you happy, because that's not their job, that's your job. And I think, sometimes people get into relationships and that's what they expect. They expect, like, oh, you're supposed to make me happy. And, that's not true. So, happiness is our priority.
Did you have something?
I don't need that, thank
for the camera, please? Thank you, appreciate you. You're so beautiful.
I was gonna say, I kinda disagree. I think that love is enough. When you truly love somebody, the Bible teaches us love covers a multitude of faults. Love is not shallow, it is not based on feelings, and it is not fleeting. But that's true love, and a lot of us in relationships don't have true love. So I was gonna say, when you guys ask who shows you the most love, or who is the person you love the most, it's Melvin. Melvin is my dad. I call him Melvin. You know, just, it's a love thing.
Shout out to Melvin.
What up, man?
He's a real one.
He is quite literally the greatest man that I know, and I always tell him that he is God's love for me personified. Not that he does not correct me, he loves me, he gives me grace, he also is deserving of grace, and his love covers a multitude of faults, and it's true love. And we fight, he'd have been married multiple times, we don't get into it's public record. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, sorry, code names. What I'm saying is love, true love is real, and it is quite literally enough. It's just finding somebody that you are truly in love with.
So, before you respond to that, I was told from the chat, Stephanie says to tell Melvin that she loves him.
Stephanie, I'm gonna call her later.
Okay, all right, she will call you later, but we love Melvin, shout out to Melvin. I don't disagree with you. I do think that true love is enough, but the reality, at least from my perspective, is that most humans don't have the capacity for that kind of love. And so with that, like, we can strive for that, but because we are fallible humans, and we're imperfect, and we have our days, like, our love falls short of that perfect love that we find in God. And I think that from a, boots on the ground, realistic view of love, like I said before, some people just don't have the capacity. When I look at why my marriage fell apart, at the end of the day, my ex-husband did not have the capacity to love me. He couldn't have loved me if he wanted to. And there's a lot of things that he did knowingly and intentionally that broke our contract of marriage, but barring all of those things, he physically, mentally could not get past the barriers of his own psychological makeup to love me well. And I think without the proper care, will he ever have that capacity? I don't know. But I think that, when we look at that, we have our limitations as humans. And so we have to also think about the needs outside of the ooey gooey feelings. Am I safe? Am I seen? Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you cannot, like you said earlier, if you cannot provide basic safety, if I'm not eating, if I can't just quite literally survive, but you love me though, I'm about to die. So like, love me, I guess, rest in peace. I don't know.
I think as humans, we expect so much from a relationship. Like, we put so much weight and pressure on a relationship, expectation to make us happy, to fulfill us, and it starts when the girls are young with the Disney and, Cinderella, and then, the guys. So we just, it's such a weighted responsibility in society. You no longer can just love the person and do life. You gotta be their best friend, you gotta be their accountant, you gotta be their counselor, you gotta be their community. We're expecting one person to do what we traditionally, historically, expected a community to do. So we boil all that responsibility down on one person. Right? Back in the day, we had elders, and we got wisdom from them. Now we're getting all of our wisdom from and counseling from. And we had community, and we had responsibilities in the villages, but now all of my esteem now is supposed to come from you. And when you don't tell me I look good, or when you don't tell me I did well, you are failing. And it's almost like, man, where do we turn left? And to the point over here, forget about what we're supposed to do. And that's what I always preach around. Self-love, to me, is the first point. That was my hard lesson. I think I put too much emphasis on my marriage, and I didn't even know Mike. Like, what do I like to do? Self-love, right? So before I learned about self-love and how literal it should be, you know, how if I'm having a bad day, scan my body, what do I need right now? Do I need fresh air? Do I need some food, a good movie? What do I need? Versus looking at somebody else and saying, you ain't making me happy. You ain't doing what I expect you to do. And it's like, now I've learned over the years, trial, error, therapy, to point to, no, that's my job. My job is to fill this cup halfway full of self-love, and if any more water gets in there, cool. But if not, I can still have a good thirst-quenching experience with my own self-love. But I don't think a lot of people look at it like that. They want the relationship to do that. So they're trying to offset their responsibility on the people and manage their own life and their own frailties and their own struggles and their own ish. So, yep.
I think comparison robs a lot of people, especially these times when you're dealing with social media and TV. People compare what other people have or what they think other people have, and they put those expectations on somebody else who has no idea that that's even going on or what you're processing. So I think our generation specifically, you think about Facebook, you think about adding relationship status and pictures and all of that and taking them down. I think that affects a lot of people indirectly, indirectly. So I think that's comparison is a big thing. You talk about holidays, Valentine's Day, you look at what people are posting, people are comparing with somebody else is receiving, which they might have posted that picture themselves, or involved with themselves. But so there's a lot of false smoke and mirrors that I think people are basing their life on, and it's harmful.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I want to touch up on that because I want to challenge you too, Mike, my guy. So you speak on the person that loved you the most was your grandma, right? Okay. To me, that's a different type of love, right? So can you expect your wife, your fiance, to love you like your grandma loved you, right? Different experience. So that speaks on the comparison, right? So, for example, you got kids. You love your kids, but you may love them in a different type of form, in a different type of way, different type of fashion, right? So do you expect, and this is a question, do you expect your significant other to love you the same way that the best person that you love, your grandma, to love you in that same capacity? Because to me, that can be a different type of form of love. So do you expect that? That's like, to me, that's like comparing your ex or whoever to love you in a way that maybe, you know, back then you want to be loved, but now you more mature, you're 5-10 years older, so now you want to be loved this way. So maybe the way your grandma loved you, that's a whole different type of experience. So how do you deal with that? If you say, this is the way this person loved me, and this is the way I expect to be loved, but do you expect your significant other to love you in that same type of fashion? Yeah, same type of way.
I think it's a great question. I think the grandmom type of love would be the baseline. It would be the mold. This is how I felt the most love. This is where I derive my definition of love, is from feeling warm, feeling taken care of, feeling blah, blah, blah. So for me, if we had that conversation, I would say, hey, Nana, she was my blueprint for love. Here are some of the elements. This is how I have learned and been conditioned to receive love. What I'm not saying is you have to be like Nana. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but I am saying if you have an emotionally intelligent partner, who's telling you they like peanut butter cookies, and you saying I only make oatmeal cookies. Okay, you better learn how to make peanut butter cookies eventually, because now you're trying to change what they're used to, and that's their appetite. So if that's their appetite, I would expect some type of, then we get into alignment, right? But I would expect some type of bending and saying on both sides, right?
So you doing the bending, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, right? To that point, I think it has to do with, again, that baseline. So like with that analogy, it's not so much the type of cookies that you're baking, you know, and I think that when I think about whenever I felt the most loved, I was talking earlier about my sister, she provided safety for me. She was vulnerable with me. I was vulnerable with her. And that was my first experience of having someone want to hear me talk. I was a very talkative kid. It was the only thing I ever got in trouble for. And jokes on y'all, because I got for a living now. But I remember like my family would be like, ooh, girl, you know, as my older parents would say, put a sock in it, like, just give it a rest, be quiet. And I remember one day I was sitting in the car with my sister, and she was driving, I was in the back seat, and I was just quiet, but I think she could tell that I was like bursting at the seams to say something. And she asked me like, how was your day? I was like, it was good. So, did you have fun at school? Yeah. She was like, you know, I want to hear you talk, right? Like, you could tell me about your day. Oh, she should have never told me that. I was like, what? She's like, yeah. And I just, yap. And she just smiled, looking at me from the rearview mirror, and just so engaged with the day. And that was just such a big thing for me. Like, in the grand scheme of things, of all the memories that I have with my sister, there's little moments like that where I'm like, she just listened to me. I wasn't expecting for her to do something grand. She didn't buy me a whole lot of stuff. It was, she just took the time to listen. And it created safety for me. So when I look at a potential partner, I think about listening. I think about not feeling like I have to shrink myself to feel comfortable around you. Like those baseline things. And it also makes me think about one of the worst movies I have ever seen was, I think it was called like, I don't know how she does it, or I don't know why she does something. It was just the dumbest movie I've ever seen. But the best line, one of the lines I applied to my life, somebody was like offering the lead character a drink because she was having a bad day. And she was like, no, I don't drink to feel better. I drink to feel even better. And I've applied that to my life ever since I saw that terrible movie because I thought that it was really important. But I've evolved it past substances. I've applied it in a sense of how I relate to other people. So to your point about self-love, I'm not going to love somebody or require somebody to love me so that I feel better about myself. I'm going to love myself, and whatever, like you said, whatever love that they give makes me feel even better about myself. It's not that you make me feel better about me, you make me feel even better, because I should already be pouring from a cup that has something in it.
Loving from abundance, yes.
Yeah, I want to say, I live and die by analogy. So my oldest son is autistic. So I had to learn how to communicate with him. The ends justified the means. I had to teach him certain things. So I had to get on his level to figure out how to teach him this is water, this is this is that. So I think if you're looking for love, you figure out what it is for that person. I mean, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. If I know what it is, I gotta figure out what you got. So like for my son, he didn't know how to talk, so I had to figure it out. There's no book for that. So I still think sometimes because we selfish people, intent naturally, that we keep thinking about, oh, what happened to me, how this is, how this that. That's not love. It's whatever love needs to be in the moment. That's kind of love.
You have another question? I have two questions in mind, but in the spirit of just all the beautiful Black people in the room, and it's Black History Month, Centennial Black History Month, and it is, we just had Valentine's Day. In light of this conversation, I want to ask, what do we need to see more of in the Black community when it comes to love amongst each other?
Black families on TV. Because when we were growing up, we got to see like the Huxtables and families together. I don't think they want to show a lot of black families together on TV. It's just really ostracized, and so I think seeing more black families showing that love on TV is something that is not being done.
Good.
I would say we need to see each other beyond the physical, because I feel like that's shallow love, and that's not us. And it kind of piggybacks to what my answer was going to be for your question, which was, what's the one thing you learned? I learned that approaching love physically is not it. I have to approach it from a soul perspective. I have to be me regardless, because that is weeding what's coming to me. And if I'm trying to be something for the situation that might match the person that shows up that I might be interested in, so they can be interested in me, there's nothing happening there. It's a dead end before it starts. So I just think, like, sometimes, and I talk to a lot of people, but like sometimes we look at each other and we assume we know each other based on what we see. And there's so much we can't see that people never take the time to like delve into. It doesn't always have to be about a relationship. It doesn't always have to be about love. Sometimes you just need to know who the people are around you so that you open your capacity for love, not just, well, I'm only interested in looking at you if I'm going to love you, or I'm only interested in this guy if he's 6'3" because that's the package he has to come in to earn my love or for me to love him. But sometimes it's something else that's there that's drawing us together, and a lot of times that gets ignored because it's not in the package, that the physical package.
So I think the conversation we have now is a good start. So I think just talking about it, having a conversation, I think this is very helpful. It's just very helpful in general if someone comes in and that, you know, they're going through it and they're young. This is just all good information. I think they can kind of soak it up and learn some things from kind of how you said you surprised to see. So I think you said surprised to see like some black brothers in here. If we have more, I think it'll help out the next relationship. You know, if we continue to have these type of conversations, don't be scared to be vulnerable and ask questions and kind of share our experience and help each other out. Because I think that's all this. I think this is all helpful.
Yeah.
So we continue to have these type of conversations.
I wanted to piggyback off of something you said around, you know, we judge people based upon their exterior, right? And it reminds me when I was in college, there was this guy named Damien. He was probably like 6'5", all muscle, just giant. This dude was so gentle, so his nickname was Gentle Giant, right? But on the exterior, you look at him and you just see Iron Man. But then if we had them 3D glasses and we could see on the inside what they're really made of, he a little puppy, just a little puppy in there. But we treat him like, oh, you can handle it, we're rough, right? But really, would you be rough if you really saw him? How would you really treat this person if you really, really saw them for who they were, right? When I moved to Chicago, one thing me and my guy always talked about is I noticed in the dating scene, it seemed like the women had PTSD from the men and the men had PTSD from the women, and it was just this vicious cycle, right? And it goes and goes and goes, and everybody is positioning and playing defense and playing ping pong, just boom, 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 boom. It's the same people dating the same, it's like, okay. But then it's interesting, I've had conversations, and if you somehow are able to just pluck somebody out, even for 2 seconds of the cycle and give them some fresh air, they're like, oh shit, I've been mean. I've been bit, and now I'm kicking at everybody who comes close to me because I don't want to be bit again, right? My girl from the suburbs, and we talk about how sometimes it's hard as outsiders to fit in certain circles because of maybe how you look or how you talk or how you present. And from the gate, again, we're looking at the external, we prejudge people, you know? And I just think if we can slow that down a little bit and realize, to your point, you don't know who that person is unless you inquire. Maybe they're like that because they grew up in a very challenging environment, so their head was on the swivel. So now their nervous system is on the swivel. They don't know how to calm down because something's always happening. So then I had a client last week, and we were talking about, ways that they could date better, right? But during the conversation, I'm always observing just the person, the whole person. And they're like, and I went, and then, I said, okay, hold on. Respectfully, are you on any medication? Because if you're not, you should consider it. Like, for real. I'm on anxiety meds because my anxiety is high. So I know when I see unbalanced, keep going. That's what I was gonna say. Not nice. No, I know when I see off because I live off.
Chemical imbalance.
It's a literal chemical imbalance in your brain. There's no amount of trying that's going to balance your chemicals if they're imbalanced. If I put an ounce of baking soda over here and a half an ounce of baking soda, I can wish all day it's not going to be balanced until I put more baking soda on this side. So for Black people, sometimes we're afraid to have that conversation about medication because it's a stigma. And we think we just going to thug it out and we go our whole life fighting harder because we just need a little bit of chemicals to help us get through this thing. So I was telling her, I said, hey, you should really consider having a conversation with your doctor because you seem a little anxious. And if you are giving me this energy, you're probably bringing that into the dating and relationship space. And now you're missing things when people say, hey, slow down a little bit. You're going 100 miles an hour, but you can't slow down. Right? So it becomes this cycle where if you have that conversation, because before that point, it was all external, like, yeah, they doing this and they doing that, and I'm just like, you're talking way too fast. I can't even keep up. So how are we gonna do relationship? How are we even gonna get there? Right? I don't even know where that came from, but we was just talking. Yep.
Because that's what I was gonna, when you were saying, what do we need? I think we need more accountability. Because, we have a tendency to either play the victim, so we are having like a victimhood mentality, or we're grandiose, right? We're the best thing walking. But we need to be more self-aware, more accountable. And I think that's how we can connect there.
Melanie has something.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, I think if we think about this topic tonight, if we think about the environment here tonight and everyone talking, I think the core theme is communication, right? And I think when people enter into relationships, that's one of the things they really forget about. They're not purposeful about that communication. Because in a relationship, when things happen, one or two things happens. People either want to be heard or they want to be right? But with that, that means that, somebody's got to sacrifice something. So in order for me to sacrifice something, I've got to know that that's an importance for you. And so you have to be able to convey that's an importance to you. You can't live with the assumption that I'm supposed to know because we're in a relationship, right? And so I think a lot of times, back to our point about accountability, self-reflection, self-awareness, like, we have to take it upon ourselves to be like, we have to actively be engaged within that relationship. Meaning, if I want to be loved a certain way, I have to let you know that because you're not a mind reader. You wouldn't know. And all the words that we throw around together, love is the aggregate of that. Because when you do the respect, when you do the caring, when you do the intention, all of that becomes purposeful, right? And that's a reflection of love, right? And so I can have love for a person, but all of that is encompassed in that, right? And all of that stems from me being able to, or us being able to have an open dialogue and be comfortable and be safe with each other, to be like, we can have this conversation so we can get from point A to point B. That's because our relationship is a partnership, meaning we have to work it.
No, I like that, yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, piggybacking on what I wanna see in the Black community more is that I feel like, when you talk about community or lack thereof, I want us as a Black people to just love freely, right? I don't feel like you have to do 10,000 things or jump through a bunch of hoops to deserve to be loved or to receive my love, not necessarily in a romantic way, because there are stipulations for that, but like in just a friend or a human being, like you're just deserving and worthy of love because you were born and you're on this planet. And I think when you see people as deserving of love without them having to do X, Y, and Z, then that love covers them and it makes them maybe want to do X, Y, and Z. And even if it doesn't matter because they're still deserving of love, right? Like the Bible says, I'm a Christian, so I don't know, I just be thinking about it. But the Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. We didn't do anything to deserve that love. And in fact, we did everything to not deserve the love. And yet he loved us anyway. And that love is what saves us, what heals us, what renews us, and what reframes us. And our love can do that same thing to the community. But instead of giving it freely, it's like, well, what you do? Well, did you do this for me? Well, it can't be so transactional. We need to be freely giving love to our brothers and sisters so that we can see a change in a better everything, Black life, which matter.
That's a good point.
You better go ahead and
That's a
preach.
good point.
No, I love that. I think that, I know I've been a victim of this at times. Like, I'm a very loving person, but I'm also, circumstances have made me be a little suspicious, because I've been hurt a lot. But I try my best to do the brave thing. My mantra in life has always been better, not bitter. And so, whatever better, not bitter. Whatever circumstances I've been, I've had a lot of people who have, I was just having this conversation earlier today. When you are light, you attract everything that light's light, even those who are not well-intentioned, even those who don't have the capacity to foster light or to amplify light, they just like light. And just because they like light doesn't mean that they should deplete you of your light, but they're just drawn to you. And sometimes those lessons are attractive and you fall for it, but it's not for you. And so you are tempted at that point to lessen yourself or to dim your light because you're tired of drawing the wrong attraction. But at the end of the day, it's about understanding that, one of my friends said, it's kind of a tax of being light. It's a light tax. Like, you're gonna run into some people who only wanna take some of the light. But that's what you get for being light, and you just have to be protective of yourself. Is why, lamps have shade. It's still giving off light, but it's not just completely exposed. So as we wrap up the conversation, I do want to ask you one question that I think is important to add to the conversation. How can we be better at repairing when love falls short? Because I think that's where a lot of times people miss the mark. We can talk all day about what we want from another person, what we bring to the table to give to other people, what makes us feel good, but like, what about when you miss the mark? We don't do nearly enough to repair. We live in a society that's real quick to say, oh, well, you did this, I'm done, you're blocked. Blocked, canceled, all of that. Like, how do we repair?
I think we need to start with what the heck is repair, right? I remember when I didn't even know, I'm always reading books and they're like, repair. I'm like, repair, what broke?
Exactly.
But the connection broke. The relationship dynamic broke. The energy broke. The pipe broke. The communication broke. The trust broke. What broke?
Pockets.
The pockets is broke. So, one of the things is the book, it'll come back to me. The 7 Habits That Make Marriage Work or something like that. But one of the things they talk about and relating to repairing is that when there is a breach, try your hardest to turn towards one another instead of away. Even when you get on my nerves, and I get in the car and the radio on, I don't like all the noise, hypothetically.
That was very specific.
Yeah.
That was very specific.
hypothetically, learning how to create some type of, or put energy toward us coming together. And that's a spectrum, right? That's all about where you come from. It could be something as simple as sticking your tongue at somebody to break the ice, break the tension, or, hey, we need to have a conversation, I messed up. Or, hey, I know I didn't handle this right. I think we could protect our relationship better. I don't know the answer. Let's go get ice cream and try to figure it out. Hey, meet me upstairs in 5 minutes. We'll talk about it later. Whatever it looks like to you. I think each couple has to kind of have a toolbox with different tools of repair. Some might need tape, some might need whatever. But I think another conversation we don't have enough is like, hey, when things break down, what is the best way for me to repair things with you? Right? How can we get back on track? Because when things typically break down, ego is at all-time high. Ego, I ain't doing it. I'm not saying sorry. High and mighty, I think, Rebecca, you're saying you can either be high and mighty or not. You did that to me. You know, as men, we have a lot of ego and pride, right? So if we haven't had a habit of practicing getting off our pride horse, this thing can go on until, you know, the first person break. And I ain't gonna be the one who break. Right?
It's both broken.
Right. The whole house broke. Did you ever hear that? No. So yeah, I don't know the answer. I think it's individual, but I love the question around repair, for sure.
I was gonna kind of ask a similar question. This is kind of for our single folks, but I think you touched on more so relationships, repairing your own relationship. So this is more so, what does healing look like? You know, like, cause I think about finding like my partner, right? And the work that I feel like I'm doing, it kind of, even like coming to this and soaking this type of stuff up. The person, my wife, when I meet her, I would expect her to kind of be on the same, you know, they've done some type of work and have these type of conversations, and so you can grow from it, you know, so you can grow. So I wanted to ask y'all, like, what do y'all think healing looks like? Or if you know, you go over talk people, if you've been in your last 2 relationships, they told you that. If you, what do you do when you get in your third one?
Right.
What do you say? Just because you're single now, you say, I've done some work, I'm healed. Nah, you just ain't got tested yet.
Right.
You've been single. So what does healing look like? You know, how do you, what does putting in the work look like when you're on your trajectory to, you know, so you prepare yourself for your next relationship?
I'm gonna get this to the 20-year married therapist in the back here.
Oh my. Okay. I think, so your question is, what does healing look like?
Yeah, like, I mean, everybody say therapy, you know,
Yeah.
obviously, but what other things can we kind of lock in on to kind of just become better, you know, just kind of, because we're trying to prepare ourselves, we're not in a 20-year relationship, obviously, but we're trying to prepare ourselves for when because sometimes we meet a person that's ready, and we ain't, and our flaws show, you know, I've been in a situation where I feel like I met someone, I feel like I'm ready, but she just ain't.
Right.
You know what I mean, or vice versa. So it's kind of just what steps can we take to kind of prepare ourselves for the next relationship?
Yeah, I think what you're doing, you know, you're being self-reflective, you're becoming more self-aware, you're becoming more and more honest with yourself. Those are the things. You know, I think some people find a lot of help in therapy, you know, that's always a wonderful thing. I'm glad the stigma is, you know, gone away with, you know, working through your own history. Because we all have relational wounds, you know, we have them from when we're very little, they start there. And so when you grow up, a lot of times you have those same relational patterns that are playing out and you don't even recognize it. And so I think, you know, a lot of it is some childhood work. I know sometimes we want to put that in a closet and lock it away and seal it and put the caution tape up. But a lot of times that's where we need to go. We need to go into our childhood. We need to talk about the things that hurt. And not be afraid, because that's how you grow, that's how you heal, and that's how you learn who you really are. And then you can show up authentically as yourself. It's not your representative, it's not your pain, it's not any of that, it's you. So.
And so we're like yin and yang, so she's the soft, loving, I'm the straight to the point.
Thug.
Not the, but from the hood, yeah. And so, like, the reality is you can do all of that. I mean, not like that, but you can heal yourself, you can be prepared for the next person. And the reality is that still might not be your person. Right? And so you have to be comfortable, or you have to be mature enough to say, you know what? Hey, I got some non-negotiables, and if that person doesn't meet those non-negotiables, then I gotta be real with myself and say, you know what, that's just not a conducive situation for me. Right? And I think a lot of people, a lot of singles are not actively engaging that way. They, everyone's kind of tiptoeing around like, oh, I meet this person, we meet, we talk, we love. Like, let's be intentional about what we want. Our relationship went to the next level when we were really purposeful about being honest about having conversations. And that means me putting on my big boy drawers and her putting on the big girl drawers, and we're having real conversation, because if we want this relationship to work, then we both have to do the work. And a lot of people don't want to do the work. And sometimes you have one person who wants to do the work and another person who doesn't. So you gotta be able to say, you know what, this is just not conducive for me, it doesn't work.
So there are some things you just non-negotiable, they just.
Yeah, look,
what it is.
and so when we're talking about love and the types of love, like for me, really the only unconditional love I see is between a child and a parent. Right? I don't love my wife unconditionally, she doesn't love me unconditionally. There's an unwritten component of our marriage contract that if what the foundation is built upon, if something erodes that, then we have to renegotiate. Right? But then everything in between, that's not something that you say, oh, I'm gonna leave you over, you're gonna leave me over.
Right,
We figure it out, we make it work, and that's why we wake up every day and choose each other. We make it an effort to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it don't stop once you meet the person, you put in the work, right? And I think a lot of times we just don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
And we don't wanna be honest with ourselves, we want the whole package to just come, and we have this person, and they're supposed to read our minds and know this, we're not supposed to engage, and then when they fall short, we say, well, hey, you didn't do. Well, it's just like an argument. I can't argue with myself, right? We're both in this together. So if I'm gonna give for you, you gotta give for me. If I'm gonna take from you, you gotta take from me. And back to the point where you were saying like, and I'm getting back, when you talk about the village. Well, look, in our relationships, sometimes I'm a leader, sometimes she's a leader. Sometimes I'm a student, sometimes she's a student. Like, we wear multiple hats in that relationship. That is the only way that relationship is gonna work. It really is. It's like you're going to be tested. Like, you gotta be willing to swallow that ego and that pride and be like, hey, we're doing this to make this work.
That's good.
Can I say something? We've been married a long time too. We've been married 12 years together, 16 years. And to your point, I think a lot of people just, when it comes to healing, they really don't want to do the work themselves. I think we got together when we were very young and we grew together. Most people don't grow together. And it's just like, well, you come with this, I'm coming with this, what you got. And I think for me and for us, I've definitely worked on myself a whole lot. Like, it's never ending, right? I'm still working on myself. I think we're still healing. And so I think when it comes to a healing journey in a relationship, I don't think it's never ending, because you're always healing from something.
That's actually what I was gonna say, is that healing isn't linear. So a lot of times people think like, oh, I worked on this and I'm good, I'm over that. And I'm like, you can peel back a layer and that thing kind of ends, but at the end of the day, especially when I start talking about like recovering and going through life after divorce, I am not still grieving my marriage. I am still grieving the life I thought I would have had by now. But what that looks like for me as I am healing is that there are certain traumas and triggers that I have and that come with me. It's a package deal. It doesn't mean that I'm treating the next guy like the last guy. It just means that now my new reality is there are certain non-negotiables that I have that I experienced in the past that no longer work for me. Or there are certain wounds that I have, like let's say if, if you break a bone and it heals improperly. So maybe you have a limp now or something like that. That's not something that you can necessarily correct because it healed improperly. It doesn't mean you can't walk at all. Oh, okay. It doesn't mean that you can't walk at all. It doesn't mean that, or like, you know, a burn victim. A burn victim's skin, no matter how many skin grafts they get, they will never look exactly the way that they used to. And so it's like you understand that you will have scars and that healing isn't linear. Some days, when I've talked about grief a lot, my sister has been gone for almost 10 years, and there are still some days I wake up and it seems like just yesterday I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. So like, it's not linear. And then also, something that I live by, I wanna definitely shout out, the accountability part is so huge in healing, because it's easy to talk yourself into a spiral, when you are trying to figure out what's going on and what's triggering you, and you know, you thought you were over something. I got a soundtrack. What is it?
Country
My whole, it's fine. That's my neuro spicy brain is like over there. But, you know, I have those things, that I'm trying to navigate through. But that's me being self-aware and me also having accountability where I can have people who are not yes men and yes women who can tell me like, no, you tripping, no, you seeing this through that lens, and you need to, you know what I'm saying? And then the last thing that I'll say about that before we start wrapping up is, this is a lesson that I learned that I just love so much, and this can apply to any type of relationship. At the end of the day, forgiveness, healing, loving, all of those things are decisions. And our emotions have to catch up to our decisions. You can decide to forgive someone, but your feelings may not coincide with that decision immediately. And so when someone offends me, I can say, I forgive you. I don't feel like it. I don't feel happy with you right now. I don't feel loving toward you. But every day I'm gonna wake up and make the decision that I forgave you, and I'm just waiting for my emotions to catch up with my decision.
Yeah, I like that. The answer that I kind of was going to say, kind of what everybody's saying around what's the work. And I think about my own life where I remember seasons where I elevated just in terms of my personal development. And it all came from courageously looking directly at that specific weakness. Like looking at it as if it was a body part. It's like, oh, I'm insecure. Damn. I'm insecure about my height. Okay. What do you think about that? You think you're less valuable to guys who are taller? You know, going through every little area and being completely raw and honest with myself, going through the feelings of it, sitting through the feelings like, oh, this sucks. Oh, this sucks. And then you start to think more and get more information around the topic, and then it sucks less. Oh, it sucks less. And now, okay. And now it's like, and you fuck around, that become a strength. We got kids here now. So I think to your question, it was a great question. I think for me, my answer would be the work is looking at those areas in your character that need work, and you put effort towards becoming better in those areas. That's the work. You can do all this stuff, but if you got a bad attitude and you ain't putting no effort into your attitude, or you might do all this, but you overtalk people like you said, B, and that's the work, whatever that is. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you all for the questions and for all the input. Did y'all enjoy the conversation?
Yeah.
First one.
It's the first one. I know we had like a little bit of a rocky start, but it was good. Thanks. Shout out to everybody who showed up in person. Shout out to everybody who joined the live. And
shout out to Tania for having us at the bookstore.
Give it up to
Beyond the Book in Homewood. Come check her out.
Make sure that you come to Homewood, Beyond the Book, and check it out. And we're gonna end there. Feel free to mix, mingle, check out the bookstore. And do you have merch?
No, I don't have any merch this time. But
Okay.
DJ, can we get some music when you're ready? No, thank y'all for coming. This was a blessing to have everybody here.
And shout out to everybody on the live. Love y'all. I will see you tomorrow.
Deuces.
Thank you.